Bullies mock new girl in school hall. Her surprising karate kick leaves all speechless. Lara felt like a shadow, moving through the crowded hallways of Crestview High. The world around her buzzed with laughter, intense chatter, and the rustle of backpacks, but all she could hear were the cruel whispers and mocking snickers directed at her. "Look at the new girl! What a loser!" echoed from behind her, wrapping around her like a vice. She could feel her heart race, and her palms grew sweaty. Each day, she fought the urge to melt into the walls or disappear altogether. The school loomed large over her, its red bricks and steel frames a constant reminder of her isolation. How could she have thought things would change when she moved to this city? Her dreams of a fresh start had quickly turned into a nightmare. As she wandered through the throngs of students, the bright murals painted on the walls felt like a cruel joke. Bright colours hid the grey shadows of loneliness, and Lara stood out, or blended in too much. She couldn't tell. Then it happened. On a day when the sun shone too brightly for anyone's good, Lara found herself cornered by a group of seniors. Their laughter cut through her like ice. "Hey, Lara, show us some of your moves." Lucas, the ringleader, stepped forward with a smirk that carried the weight of all the times he had targeted her. Just when the laughter swelled, it happened. Something inside her shifted. With a sudden rush of energy, she launched herself, spinning like a whirlwind, feet flying through the air. The room fell silent as her roundhouse kick connected, not with Lucas, but with the solid wall behind him. The shockwave stunned everyone, including herself. Lara stood there, breathless, heart pounding, as the crowd gaped in disbelief. No one moved. The air was thick with anticipation, as if even the walls were holding their breath. The unexpected silence that followed seemed to stretch on forever. "No way. Did she just do that?" murmured a girl in the back, her eyes wide with shock. Lara's heart raced. Had she really become the star of this cruel spectacle? But as the initial shock faded, so did the awe. Bullies didn't retreat, they regrouped. Stares turned to murmurs, and Lara felt the weight of their judgment on her shoulders. She had become a target of ridicule in a different way now. But amidst the chaos, she noticed Lucas's expression change too. The bravado melted away, revealing a flicker of something else. Vulnerability, pain, with the spotlight shining on her. Lara's mind raced through memories of her old school, the faces that had bullied her too. As insecurities bubbled to the surface, she could feel her past mingling with the present. This wasn't just about surviving. It was becoming a tangled web of old wounds unfurling in front of her. She wasn't just struggling against bullies. She was fighting against a cycle that didn't seem to end. As the bell rang for their next class, Lara's heart raced. Fists clenched, she found herself staring at Lucas from a distance. He was just a boy, flawed like her. But in that moment, he was also a reminder of everything she had fled from. What would she do next? Would she seek revenge? Or was there a way to reach out? The battle inside her surged as the crowd began to disperse, leaving her standing alone, the echoes of laughter still ringing in her ears, but now mixed with something new, uncertainty. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just do a quick check on that red button down below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content coming your way. And since you're here, smash that like button. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person in this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Lara stood frozen in the aftermath of her unexpected moment of bravery. She felt everyone's eyes on her, and the silence buzzed like electricity. But her heart sank as she caught sight of Lucas taking a step back, confusion washing over his face. Suddenly, the bell rang, snapping everyone back to reality. It echoed harshly in the hall, a reminder that this strange limbo was ending. Just as the crowd began to dissolve into chaos, a loud crash rippled through the air. Lara turned, her stomach dropping. A senior boy, Max, who had been watching the exchange, suddenly stumbled forward, clutching his chest. His face twisted in pain before he collapsed to the floor, his backpack scattering its contents, a textbook, a crumpled jacket, and a long, empty soda can across the hallway. "Max!" a girl shouted. It was Mila, his best friend. Panic spilled from her voice, spiraling through the crowd. Students stepped back, the air thick with a new tension. Worry glaring through the laughter and ridicule from moments ago. Everyone rushed in, their eyes wide. Lara's heart pounded. She had witnessed bursts of conflict, the thrill of her kick. But this was different. Max wasn't getting up. His breathing was shallow, his skin pale, as he gasped for air. "Someone call 911!" Mila screamed, shaking him. Max's body twitched. An unnatural spasm that sent shivers down Lara's spine. "Please, someone help!" Lara felt her hands shake, uncertainty clawing at her throat. She wanted to stand back, slip away into the shadows again. But she couldn't. Not now. This moment demanded something familiar. Courage. "What's happening?" whispered a girl next to Lara, her eyes flicking between the crowd and the scene on the floor. "I don't know," Lara muttered. But in that moment, she was struck by something more profound. She noticed Lucas standing still, his bravado entirely stripped away. Fear flickered in his eyes, and for the first time he looked lost. Not like a bully, but like a boy who could be scared just like her. The panic escalated when someone shouted, "He's having a heart attack." A realization hung heavy in the air. Lara could feel the dread creeping back in. The jokes, the taunts, they had all vanished, replaced by sheer terror. Suddenly, someone shouted from the back of the crowd, "Get away from him! Move back!" It was Mr. Thompson, the gym teacher, who rushed forward, shoving students aside. Lara felt herself pushed back too, the wall cold against her back. As chaos erupted around her, she caught a fleeting glimpse of Lucas. He looked devastated, his mask of bravado shattered. Their eyes met, and in that split second, she saw what she had never expected. A spark of understanding, a shared vulnerability in the face of shock. Then came the sound of sirens wailing in the distance, getting closer. The crowd gasped, a collective inhale, as they stood spellbound, watching the chaos unfold. What if? What if this was more than just a moment? What if they were all tangled in a web of hurt, shame, secrets, and pain that connected all of them? A realization sank deep into Lara's heart, intertwining her feelings of fear and empathy. As the paramedics burst through the doors, the atmosphere shifted again, the reality of the moment weighing heavily on everyone's shoulders. Lara took a deep breath, her heart still racing, and she didn't know what would happen next. Would Lucas still be the bully, or would the events of this day redefine everything? The sirens and shouts faded into the background. In that instant, all Lara could do was stand there, her entire world tilting on its axis, and the echo of their shared humanity lingered painfully between them. Lara stood frozen, the world spinning around her in dizzying chaos. The paramedics rushed in, faces grim, their voices sharp and focused. "Clear the area," one shouted, slicing through the tension like a knife. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air. Not just any scream. It came from Mila. "Max, no!" She crumpled to the floor beside him, choking on her tears. The gravity of the situation crashed down, thrusting everyone into a reality they never wanted to confront. Lara's eyes darted between the panic-stricken crowd and the lifeless form sprawled on the floor. Then it happened. A woman, tall and fierce, pushed her way through the throng. She wore a dark coat, hair tied back tight. A stranger, yet somehow familiar. Lara squinted, trying to make sense of it all. The woman leaned over Max, her hands moving with deadly precision. "Get me the defibrillator," she barked. Her tone commanded authority, and the students fell silent, spellbound. "Who is she?" someone whispered, eyes wide with disbelief. Lara felt dizzy, trying to remember if she had seen this woman before. But then, boom! A loud boom erupted behind them. The chaos exploded into frantic movement as an ambulance siren screamed closer, red lights flashing through the hall. She turned, eyes wide. But it wasn't just the siren that shocked her. In the middle of the corridor, a football player, Kyle, the school's star, stood frozen. Everyone's eyes flicked to him, a hush creeping over the crowd. He was pale, breathing heavy, like someone had pulled the air from his lungs. Then he staggered back, clutching his head. Wait, no, as if he knew something. Something that twisted his insides like a coiled spring. Lara's heart raced. Had he just overheard? Was there something more buried beneath the surface? She shook her head, trying to clear it. That's when she noticed the woman again, her hands working frantically over Max. "Come on, breathe," she pleaded. But Max lay still, the world fading around him. Suddenly, the crowd burst into whispers, a wave of speculation washing over them. "Isn't she? No way!" Fingers pointed, expressions shifted. It was chaos. But Lara's eyes were locked on Kyle again. Confusion turned to something far darker. He stood motionless, blood draining from his face like a leaking faucet. "Kyle!" Mila shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks. "What do you know?" The tension snapped. Kyle's voice quaked. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear." His words hung in the air, heavy as a storm cloud. The crowd took a collective step back. Secrets long buried began surfacing like ominous shadows. A girl, brandishing a phone, pressed record. "Did you see that? There was something earlier," she exclaimed, excitement blending with dread. Lara felt a stitch in her gut. What was going on? She heard snippets, accusations, talk about fights, betrayals, things nobody could take back. Lucas's expression darkened, guilt slipping through the cracks of his bravado. Just as another shout erupted, a sudden hiss escaped from the back of the crowd. "He did this!" Glass shattered. Someone had struck a window. A fight had broken out. fists flying, the chaos escalating. Lara's heart pounded as she watched Kyle screaming, his voice cracking under the weight of his own fear. "No! I didn't hurt him, I swear!" But the truth hung heavy in the air, and Lara suddenly felt the walls closing in. The once quiet corridors felt suffocating, alive with secrets about to explode. What had happened earlier? The day had transformed into a nightmare, and she was stuck at the heart of it. Each heartbeat echoed with uncertainty. Would she find out the truth? Or was it too late? Then, amidst the chaos, Lara caught Lucas's eye. In that moment, something shifted. A sudden awareness that transfixed them both. The realization that they might not be so different after all. But before they could act, the sirens blared louder, drowning out their fleeting connection. The atmosphere crackled with tension and possibility. What would happen next? Would the truth emerge from the ashes of secrets laid bare? Would they all end up shattered or somehow healed? In the storm of confusion, Lara found herself at a crossroads, the weight of choices pressing heavily on her soul, waiting for the next turn of events to unfold. Lara stood frozen, the world spinning around her in dizzying chaos. The paramedics rushed in, faces grim, their voices sharp and focused. "Clear the area!" one shouted, slicing through the tension like a knife. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air. Not just any scream. It came from Mila. "Max, no!" She crumpled to the floor beside him, choking on her tears. The gravity of the situation crashed down, thrusting everyone into a reality they never wanted to confront. Lara's eyes darted between the panic-stricken crowd and the lifeless forms sprawled on the floor. Then it happened. The woman in the dark coat, who seemed like a stranger yet familiar, leaned closer over Max. The air crackled with urgency. "Come on, breathe," she pleaded, her voice rising in desperation. But Max lay still, the world fading around him. Just then, Lara noticed a flicker of movement near the back of the crowd. A senior boy, Chris, with wide, terrified eyes, pushed through the throng. "It's my fault. I didn't mean for this to happen," he yelled, his voice shaking. The crowd fell silent, all eyes turning to him like a spotlight had been turned on. What do you mean?" someone shouted, a mix of confusion and accusation hanging in the air. Chris took a step forward, hands trembling. He was just trying to help me. I was being chased by Kyle and his friends. They thought I had something of theirs, but I didn't. I swear." The whispers began, swirling around the hall like an electric current. Lara felt her stomach twist. The panic escalated. Mila shook her head in disbelief. "What are you saying? Why didn't you say anything?" "I was scared," Chris shouted back, tears glistening on his cheeks. "They said if I told anyone, they would kill me. I thought they were just messing around." The crowd gasped collectively. "But Max," Mila choked, "he was trying to protect you. Now look what's happened." Just then, Kyle staggered forward, his expression morphing from defiance to devastation. "You think I would do this?" he shouted, anger unraveling in his voice. "I didn't hurt him. Max wasn't supposed to get involved." Panic rippled through the crowd. What does that mean? Lara felt her heart hammering in her chest. What is going on? In the midst of the noise, a soft but commanding voice hushed everyone. It was the woman in the coat again. "We need to focus. Stop arguing." She looked at Chris. What really happened? "I saw Max getting ready to fight Kyle. They wanted revenge for something stupid." Chris's voice broke, and Lara could see the guilt tearing through him. The room felt charged with emotion. Suddenly, Lucas broke through, shaking his head, a mix of confusion and rage on his face. You mean to tell us this was all about what? A stupid fight? None of you had to do this. Then, without warning, a fire alarm blared, a shrill noise cutting through the air. Students jumped back, a wave of panic sweeping through them. Evacuate! Everyone out, now! Mr. Thompson shouted, his voice booming over the chaos. As the crowd began to scatter, Lara turned back to the scene on the floor. But now, the air was heavy with unanswered questions. Could this all really be about a fight over something so meaningless? Was Max just a victim caught in the crossfire of secrets and fear? Wait! She yelled out to Lucas. But he was already moving, his face twisted in disbelief. Tears streamed down Mila's cheeks, but the truth hung there, thick like fog. The weight of all the hidden stories, of the connections between them, began to unravel. What if everything Lara thought she knew was wrong? The pieces didn't fit. Everything felt upside down. With the alarms ringing loudly in her ears, she stumbled back, heart racing, uncertain of what would happen next. Would they ever find out the truth? Would the chaos only deepen? In that moment, everything was a tangled web of secrets, and she felt lost in the storm of it all. Desperate to understand the next turn of events, Lara stood frozen, the world spinning around her in dizzying chaos. The paramedics rushed in, faces grim, their voices sharp and no! She crumpled to the floor beside him, choking on her tears. The gravity of the situation crashed down, thrusting everyone into a reality they never wanted to confront. Lara's eyes darted between the panic-stricken crowd and the lifeless form sprawled on the floor. Then it happened. The woman in the dark coat, who seemed like a stranger yet familiar, leaned closer over Max. The air crackled with urgency. "Come on, breathe," she pleaded, her voice rising in desperation. But Max lay still, the world fading around him. Just then, Lara noticed a flicker of movement near the back of the crowd. A senior boy, Chris, with wide, terrified eyes, pushed through the throng. "It's my fault! I didn't mean for this to happen," he yelled, his voice shaking. The crowd fell silent, all eyes turning to him, like a spotlight had been turned on. What? What do you mean?" someone shouted, a mix of confusion and accusation hanging in the air. Chris took a step forward, hands trembling. He was just trying to help me. I was being chased by Kyle and his friends. They thought I had something of theirs, but I didn't, I swear." The whispers began, swirling around the hall like an electric current. Lara felt her stomach twist. The panic escalated. Mila shook her head in disbelief. "What are you saying? Why didn't you say anything?" "I was scared," Chris shouted back, tears glistening on his cheeks. "They said if I told anyone they would kill me. I thought they were just messing around." The crowd gasped collectively. "But Max," Mila choked, "he was trying to protect you. Now look what's happened." Just then, Kyle staggered forward, his expression morphing from defiance to devastation. "You think I would do this?" he shouted, anger unraveling in his voice. "I didn't hurt him. Max wasn't supposed to get involved." Panic rippled through the crowd. "What does that mean?" Lara felt her heart hammering in her chest. What is going on? In the midst of the noise, a soft but commanding voice hushed everyone. It was the woman in the coat again. "We need to focus. Stop arguing." She looked at Chris. "What really happened?" "I saw Max getting ready to fight Kyle. They wanted revenge for something stupid." Chris's voice broke. and Lara could see the guilt tearing through him. The room felt charged with emotion. Suddenly, Lucas broke through, shaking his head, a mix of confusion and rage on his face. "You mean to tell us this was all about what? A stupid fight? None of you had to do this." Then, without warning, the fire alarm blared, a shrill noise cutting through the air. Students jumped back, a wave of panic sweeping through them. "Evacuate! Everyone out now!" Mr. Thompson shouted, his voice booming over the chaos. As the crowd began to scatter, Lara turned back to the scene on the floor. But now the air was heavy with unanswered questions. Could this all really be about a fight over something so meaningless? Was Max just a victim caught in the crossfire of secrets and fear? "Wait!" she yelled out to Lucas, but he was already moving, his face twisted in disbelief. Tears streamed down Mila's cheeks, but the truth hung there, thick like fog. The weight of all the hidden stories, of the connections between them, began to unravel. What if everything Lara thought she knew was wrong? The pieces didn't fit. Everything felt upside down. Then came a sound, a loud, metallic clang. It echoed from the other end of the hallway. Lara turned, her heart sinking. A group of students pushed their way forward, one of them shouting, "Get back! Just get back!" The crowd parted, allowing a clear view of what was happening. A boy crawled out from the shadows, dragging himself along on his elbows. Blood smeared his face, and his eyes were wide with terror. "Don't let them find me! I didn't tell! I swear I didn't!" Lara's breath caught in her throat. It was Tom, another senior known for his wild antics. But this wasn't a prank. This was real fear. "What are you talking about?" someone asked, stepping forward, astounded. "I saw them. They wanted to hurt Max, to get back at Chris." Tom's words tumbled out, frantic and breathless. "I tried to stop it, but, he faltered, a pulse of panic coursing through him. "Who?" Lara demanded, her heart pounding in her ears. "The crew! They're not who you think they are. They've been planning this for weeks." Gasps echoed through the crowd. The atmosphere shifted like a thunderstorm brewing. "What do you mean?" Chris shouted, trembling. "They've got a whole thing going on, and Max was just the beginning." Tom's voice cracked, and in that moment, the weight of his revelation sunk deep, shocking them all into silence. Lara felt a cold chill running down her spine. Who were they really? What had they been hiding? Could everything she thought she knew unravel in an instant? As fear and confusion gripped her, she knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning. Lara felt the walls closing in, as Tom's revelation hung in the air, thick and suffocating. The crowd's murmurs faded into a low hum, confusion rippling through the students. "What do you mean?" she whispered, her heart racing. Then, just as the world seemed to tilt further off its axis, a sudden shout rang through the chaos. "Get away! Run!" A girl near the back screamed, her eyes wide with terror. The crowd shifted, as everyone turned to see a figure barreling forward, moving like a shadow through the stream of students. It was Kyle, but he wasn't alone. Behind him, a group of boys, familiar faces, but twisted by anger, pressed forward, their eyes blazing with something primal. "Don't let him go," Kyle gasped, panic lacing his voice. A desperate confusion filled the air. "What's happening?" Lara yelled, but her question was drowned by a wave of movement. The boys were closing in on Chris, their intentions clear. The atmosphere crackled with violence. Students stumbled backward, fear gnawing at their heels. "Stop! You can't do this!" Mila shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks. But the noise only grew louder, drowning out their pleas. Lara's heart pounded, adrenaline surging through her veins. She had to do something. She turned to Lucas, her instincts screaming for him to act. But he stood frozen, lost in disbelief, as Kyle pushed through the crowd. The moment escalated. One of the boys lunged at Chris, fist swinging wildly. "You think you can just waltz in here and ruin everything?" The punch connected, a sickening thud that echoed through the hallway. Chris stumbled back, pain flashing across his face. Lara's stomach twisted as the scene unfolded like a horror movie. She wanted to intervene, but felt rooted to the spot. Then came another shout, and once again, chaos erupted. Glass shattered as Kyle collided with the wall. It crumbled like tissue paper. "Enough!" he bellowed, his voice raw with desperation. "You don't understand what you're doing!" But the group pressed on, fueled by anger and a dangerous streak of mob mentality. Lara's breath caught in her throat as she watched her classmates transform. Friends turned on friends. Faces once filled with innocence, now twisted by rage. And then, from out of nowhere, a loud crack echoed in the hall. Not the sound of fists, but something far more ominous. A heavy object crashed down from above, scattering dust and debris everywhere. Lara flinched, shielding her eyes from the chaos, and when she opened them, her heart dropped. The woman in the dark coat, who had been working over Max, was now standing nearby, panic etched across her face. "Get out! Everyone! Now!" she yelled, urgency bleeding into her voice. Just as the students began to scatter, a muffled explosion rocked the hall, sending everyone reeling. The lights flickered, emergency alarms blaring. A storm of panic ensued, echoes of screams blending into a cacophony of chaos. In that moment, everything shifted. "Run, Lara!" screamed Lucas, pulling her with him. But she couldn't move. She was anchored to the unforgiving reality unfolding around her. With her heart racing, she turned to see Chris on the ground, crumpled and pale. "Chris!" she cried, her mind spinning. "Are you okay?" But before he could answer, the woman stepped forward, darting through the terrified crowd. "It's not safe," she urged, grabbing Chris's arm. "We have to go." And that's when it hit her. Lara's pulse quickened as she realized this wasn't just about a fight. There was something deeper, darker, hidden. Beneath their fear, the whispers, the secrets, they were all tangled in a web of long-held pain. But what if it was more than that? What if everything they thought they knew was a lie? As the crowd rushed past her like a stampede, Lara stood frozen, questions flooding her mind. The sirens blared louder. Another crash echoed behind her, and she could feel the energy shifting. Then, in a moment that felt almost surreal, she turned back to Lucas, eyes wide with a new understanding. But before she could say anything, darkness crashed down around her. The last thing she saw was the woman's face, filled with urgency and fear, before everything went black. In that moment, nothing made sense. All Lara felt was a chilling certainty. Nothing would ever be the same again. Everything she thought she knew about her new life, her new friends, shattered. Lara felt nothing but darkness enveloping her. It was as if the world had narrowed down to nothing but shadows. With a jolt, her eyes flickered open, heart pounding. Her mind spun, the echo of chaos still ringing in her ears. She was on the floor, someone's hands gripping her shoulders, shaking her gently. "Lara, wake up!" It was Lucas, panic etched across his face. The noise faded slowly, revealing sirens still wailing in the distance. What happened?" she murmured, blinking against the blinding fluorescent lights overhead. She turned her head. The hallway was empty. The other students had fled. "Tom, he's gone!" Lucas shouted, his voice trembling. We couldn't find him!" Her heart sank. "What do you mean? Gone where?" After the explosion, he just ran off, like he knew something. "What do you mean? Knew what?" Suddenly, the woman in the dark coat came into view, her hands still grasping something. A small device, glinting ominously in the light. Lara's breath caught. It was a flash drive. One of those sleek, innocuous things. Is that... She couldn't finish her thought. "Yes." The woman looked at her, urgency flaring in her eyes. "It has everything. Secrets, the truth about what's been happening here." Her stomach twisted. "What truth?" A deafening crash echoed. From down the hall, making them both jump. "They're coming! We have to move!" the woman urged. "Who? Who's coming?" Lara felt ice slip through her veins. Lucas tugged her arm, his gaze darting nervously. "We need to get out of here, now!" Panic surged as they made their way down the darkened corridor. The world felt surreal, each step feeling heavier than the last. But as they approached the exit, the atmosphere shifted. It felt thick with tension, like they were being watched. Without warning, Kyle, bloodied and disheveled, stepped into view. He stood like a statue, eyes wide, breaths coming in quick gasps. The look on his face was one of sheer terror. "You have to listen. They're not just kids. They're part of something bigger." "What are you talking about?" Lucas demanded. But Lara felt a bruise of doubt pressing down on her. "This isn't random." "Max! He was mixed up in it!" Kyle yelled, hands trembling. "I didn't mean for him to get hurt. I thought he was just a pawn." "What are you saying?" Lara gasped, confusion swirling around her like a storm. And then it came. A scream. Mila, racing down the hall, her voice piercing through the chaos. "He's not dead!" "He can't be dead!" Eyes wild, she careened forwards, stopping short when she saw them. "You have to help him! We can't let this happen!" Lara's heart dropped. "What do you mean?" It was all a setup. The fight, it was planned. They wanted to make a statement. Who? Who wanted to? But it was Kyle's voice that rang out next, raw and unyielding. "The group, the seniors, there's been staging everything for months. It's not just bullying anymore, it's control." "What control?" But before any further explanations could spill forth, another loud explosion shook the ground. This time, the lights flickered, and the chaos kicked into overdrive again. "Get down!" the woman shouted, shoving Lara and Lucas behind a metal locker as another blast rang out. Lara was dizzy, her thoughts spiraling. They were caught in something so much darker than high school drama. Everything she thought she knew, friendships, alliances, it all felt like a carefully woven lie. And then in the confusion, she caught a glimpse of Tom again, reappearing from the other side of the hallway. His expression was vacant, eyes hollow, but he clutched something close to his chest. More whispers of danger wrapped around them. "Lara," he choked out, staring right at her. "I'm so sorry. It's bigger than any of us. You have to trust me, or it's all going to fall apart." Her heart dropped into her stomach. What had they all been part of? And as she faced the tangled web of secrets unfolding before her, one truth rang clear. They were no longer just students in a school. They were pawns in a game that threatened to consume them all. What would happen next? Would they all choose to fight back? Or would the darkness pull them under? The answers felt like a storm rolling in, ready to break. Lara felt the walls closing in as Tom's revelation hung in the air, thick and suffocating. You have to trust me, or it's all going to fall apart. Before she could process it, another loud explosion shook the ground. The lights flickered, and a wave of chaos erupted. Lara was yanked down behind the metal locker by Lucas, shielding her from the debris. Her heart raced. "What's happening?" she gasped, trying to catch her breath. She looked over at the woman in the dark coat. But the urgency in the air left her reeling. Mila was still there, eyes wide, tears streaming down her face. "You don't understand! There's so much more going on!" Her voice trembled with fear and determination. "More than what?" Lara barked, frustration building. She needed answers, a lifeline in the swirling chaos. But before Mila could respond, there was a crash at the far end of the hallway. The sight was pure madness. Smoke billowed, swirling into the air like a living thing. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the haze. Lara. It was Chris, stumbling through the smoke, each step heavy and labored. "You have to come with me now." His eyes were wild, glistening with fear. "What's going on?" Lara's voice cracked, anxiety building in her chest like pressure. Chris glanced back over his shoulder, panic tightening his features. "It's the group! They set this up! They know everything! And they're not just kids! They're connected to something bigger." Lara's heart sank. Could it really be true? Everything she thought was random, like a twisted game. Her gut churned with a sickening sense of dread. Without warning, another voice cut through the chaos. "Stop right there!" It was Tom, suddenly blocking Chris's path. "You're lying! You can't just come and say that!" But Chris's eyes were unyielding. "Tom, believe me, Max isn't the only casualty here. They're coming for all of us." The air vibrated with tension. And then, in an instant, it happened. Another figure charged forward, this time tackling Crest to the ground. It was Kyle, gripping him tight, rage and desperation twisting his face. "Enough!" Kyle snapped, breathing heavily. "You don't know what you're messing with." But just as he spoke, a sudden noise erupted, a loud bang, a deep, earth-shattering thud. The ground trembled, and a section of the wall crumbled. Dust and debris filled the air, and Lara coughed, her vision blurred by chaos. And then, almost as if time had stopped, a shocking realization hit her. She blinked through the dust, eyes wide, as a familiar face appeared from the shadows. It was no one she expected. "Mum?" The woman in the dark coat turned, eyes widening in disbelief as she locked onto Lara. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was flat, like a glass wall. "Mum, you were—" Lara stammered, heart racing. "How could you? Why are you here?" No one seemed prepared for the shock that followed. Mila's jaw dropped. Tom's expression shifted from anger to confusion. And Lucas looked as if he'd seen a ghost. "I had to protect you," her mother insisted, stepping forward, panic spilling into her eyes. "You don't understand the danger you're in." Lara felt the fabric of everything unravel. The woman she thought had abandoned her now stood there, and all the mystery and secrets vanished in a chaotic swirl. "Protect me!" she shouted, voice trembling. "You mean lies. You mean this." But as she stared into her mother's eyes, She noticed a glint of something deeper, something dark lurking beneath. The air crackled heavy with unspoken truths. "Mum, what have you done?" And the sirens wailed loudly, echoing around them, as if the very fabric of reality tore apart. In that moment, all sense of safety shattered. Every single question that swirled in her mind threatened to pull them under. Lara stood at the crossroads of revelation and despair. Would she trust her mother, or would she uncover something deeper, darker? With everything hanging in the balance, the truth now felt closer than ever, but it also seemed further away. What would happen next? Would they stand together, or would fear drive a wedge that could never be mended? The uncertainty loomed heavy as a storm cloud, building toward an explosive climax. Lara felt the world shift around her as her mother stood there, a presence she thought she'd lost forever. The chaos continued to swirl, but now it was heavy with emotions she didn't know how to manage. It was like being caught in a storm without an umbrella. "Why? Why didn't you tell me?" Lara's voice cracked, the anger mixing with confusion. "What truth?" The woman's face twisted, an expression of desperation. "I was trying to protect you. This isn't just a school thing, it's deeper. You don't understand how far it goes." "What are you hiding?" Lucas whispered, the anxiety in his tone palpable. But before her mother could respond, something changed again. A loud thud echoed through the halls, and then one of the walls imploded, sending chunks of cement crashing down. Dust enveloped them in a thick cloud. "Get back!" the woman shouted, trying to shield Lara, but the blast knocked them all off their feet. Lara hit the ground hard, and for a moment, everything was a blur of sounds and lights. When she finally blinked into focus, she saw Tom sprawled on the ground, panic written across his features. "Lara!" he screamed, and for the first time, his calm facade shattered. "You have to listen. You don't know what they're really after." Who are they?" Lara struggled to sit up, dust and debris swirling around her. The group. They'd been planning something catastrophic. And Max, his voice lowered, filled with dread. "He wasn't the target. You were." "What do you mean?" Her heart pounded in her chest, confusion morphing into dread. Before he could answer, a sharp whistle cut through the haze, followed by frantic footsteps. A group of masked students stormed through the smoke. They were armed, eyes wild, moving like wolves on a hunt. Lara felt her breath hitch. This was no longer about bullying. This was something sinister. "Stand down," one of them shouted, and the tone struck cold. "The plan is in motion. Don't let anyone—" "Stop it!" Lara's mind raced. Were these the friends she knew? Faces she'd seen every day? If they were behind this, what did they want? Did anyone really know the truth after all? "Run!" Lucas yelled, pulling her up. They all stumbled back, trying to escape the impending chaos. But as they turned, something explosive lit up the hallway. A flash, blinding and fierce, sending a wave of heat washing over them. Then, silence fell. Lara blinked, still reeling from the shock. The air felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. As she turned to see where everyone was, the sight stunned her. In the far corner of the hall, there was her mother, but not as she remembered. The shadows seemed to lift, and the truth became horrifyingly clear. Layers fell away to reveal a figure cloaked not just in mystery, but in power. "Mum?" Lara breathed again, disbelief churning in her gut. What? But before she can finish, her mother spoke, her voice low, almost another person entirely. I've been waiting for this moment. You were never meant to get involved in this, but now you've crossed a line. The weight of her words settled over Lara like cold steel. This was no ordinary conflict. This was about control, manipulation, something even darker than she imagined. "Mum, stop!" Lara shouted, desperately reaching out. But the moment hung in the air, a shimmering thread about to snap. The crowd, frozen with fear and uncertainty. Then came the realization, hitting her harder than any explosion. Her mother wasn't just protecting her. She was part of it all. The lies, the fear, the darkness. Lara's hands trembled, and a lump formed in her throat. As everything she'd known shattered around her, Lara struggled to hold on to her sense of self. Who could she trust? What had she unwittingly become part of? And in the silence that followed, filled with terrifying potential, Lara stood at the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into a truth and a fight far beyond what she'd ever expected. Lara stood there, heart pounding, as the truth crashed around her like waves. The chaos of the last moment spun through her mind. Tom was right. A storm brewed beneath the surface. She looked at her mother, realizing she had to confront her. "What are you really a part of?" Her mother stepped forward, hands trembling. "I was doing what I thought was best. Often, family bonds run darker than blood. But Lara had had enough of the secrets. "Darkness is what led us here," Lara shouted, her voice echoing down the hall. "You had a choice, Mum. You chose silence." Around them, the masked figures shifted, the tension thickening. But Lara stood her ground. The echoes of every choice, every hurtful word and betrayal, came crashing down, and she felt a new strength rising. Within her, "We're more than just pawns," Lucas whispered, stepping beside Lara. "We can fight back." Miller, still raw from the chaos, nodded. "Together, we'll find out what this is all about. We can't let fear take over." Lara took a breath. She felt her panic ease ever so slightly. The raw loyalty of her friends brought a fierce warmth to her heart. She looked around. "What do we do?" "Back to back," Kyle said, forming a circle with them. "We don't let them scare us." The unlucky circumstances had thrown them together, but now they stood united. Lara felt the adrenaline surging, her mind racing. If her mother had been manipulating them, she wouldn't let her do so anymore. "Let them come," she declared fiercely. Just then, the group of masked friends lunged forward. But in that split second, Lara caught sight of the flash drive in her mother's hand. It glinted ominously in the chaos. "Mum!" she shouted desperately, reaching out. "The truth can't be hidden behind that. What's on it?" Her mother paused, eyes narrowing. "You think knowing will protect you? It's not that simple." "Then teach me," Lara pleaded. "Don't let this darkness swallow us." In that instant, the masked group hesitated, sensing the change in the air. It was a moment of clarity, and her mother glanced at her, conflict flickering across her face. "You don't understand, and you never will unless—" But before she could finish, loud crash interrupted, shaking the building again. A new weight of urgency settled into the room. Somebody shouted, "Get to the exit." Lara felt her heart drop as Tom took a step back, fear lacing his features. "They'll chase you into the fire if you don't get out now." "Trust me," Lara yelled, the cry ringing clear. "Don't let them divide us again." The air was electric as they moved as one. rushing toward the exit, fingers intertwined, sweaty palms pressed against each other. They surged forward. Behind them, her mother called out, "You will regret forgetting your ties." But Lara didn't stop. Walls shifted around them, crumbling under their feet, debris falling like rain. They burst through the door, into sunlight that felt warmer than ever. Breathless, but together, they turned to watch as the chaos of their school faded behind. They stood as one, a small group facing not just the day, but their futures. Lara felt tears stinging her eyes, not from fear, but from hope. As their surroundings turned younger, the missing echoes of the past twisted into something new. They had nothing but uncertainty ahead, but together they could piece back the world they had lost. And just as they began to walk away from the wreckage, lingering doubts still hung heavy in the air. Would they face more chaos ahead? Was her mother lost to the dark forever? The questions were agitating, unresolved, and they lingered. But for now, Lara took a deep breath, feeling the light around her. Sometimes all you can do is move forward into the uncertainty. And before the screen fades to black, let me tell you something important. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on upcoming exclusive stories that will blow your mind. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this insane ending. Don't wait another second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.